Hello there, fellow actors, and welcome back to Take It Again. This is episode 3. I want to first of all thank everyone for their auditions. We've had more auditions for this latest project than we had in the previous episodes. I'm loving that. Thank you guys so much. You are making it an absolute thrill to be able to do this podcast. I've been going through everyone's auditions. I've been sending feedback to all of the auditions through Casting Call Club, and I'll continue to do so as long as I can. Hopefully, we're going to get to a point where I'll be getting too many auditions in to be able to give feedback to every single one. I know that I'm not able to feature all of the auditions in the live feedback portion at this point, just because it would just take too long. Just there's so much to be able to say, so many to go through. But I'm really hoping that you continue to audition, take the experience, use it as practice. And if you've got friends, if you've got other people that want to be sending these auditions in, people who are not sure, if this is something they want to do or if it's something that they just don't feel confident in, this is a great space for them to be able to send in some auditions, get some honest feedback, and by listening into the show, get some more of that feedback from others' auditions. That way, there's just a constant learning. So again, thank everyone for submitting your auditions and for coming in and listening to the podcast. I really hope that you learn from everyone else's experiences here. Let's take a look at what we're doing this week. So episode 3, we had a great performance of Sir Boy, the Queen, and Knight Commander. Again, big thank you to my friend Void Crow for the artwork, for use of his characters. This makes it so much more enjoyable to be able to put a face to the lines as we're reading through this. Let's do a quick look through the audition, and then we'll start listening to some of the auditions. So, welcome to episode 3 of Take It Again. Auditions for this podcast are for receiving commented feedback and for potential use in the recorded podcast for direct feedback. All presented characters should be performed in some form of UK accent, though the specific dialect or accent is not defined. London, Manchester, West Country, Scottish, Irish, and beyond. But this is Knights and Kingdoms. I'm looking for that European flavor. Please submit at least 2 takes of each line in AABBCC format and slate the audition with your name, and either submit it for podcast if you'd like to be considered for a critique on the podcast, or submit it for feedback if you only want feedback in way of a comment. So a lot of the same kind of instructions that we've had before. Now, eventually, I will be adjusting those instructions. So for those who are going to be continuing to put in auditions, make sure you keep reading those project overviews and make sure you're looking for instructions. I will eventually be asking for different things. Example in this, I usually do ABC format. This one was AABBCC format. So always be watching out for that, because I'm gonna throw a curveball from time to time just to make sure that you're consistently reading those instructions. It's always it's a real easy habit to get into not reading them, so I want to make sure that you are. Let's see here. So again, we've had 3 different characters. All of them were given some instruction on the kind of their motivations and the kind of voice that I was looking for. I won't go through all of them at this point. I was actually very thrilled with how many auditions we had for the Queen. I've learned so far that I get a lot more guys auditioning than I do have gals auditioning. So I'm really glad that we got some good feedback from the female voice actors out there. So thank you guys so much. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right in it, and let's take a listen. So we're going to be starting with Right Old Wrongin, who auditioned for Knight Commander, and we're going to listen. Now, before we even start, let's just take a quick look at the difference between his audition, and then we're going to have Dak's audition, just the wavelengths here, and then some of the other auditions where they're about on the middle ground here. Just keep that in mind as you're doing auditions. One of the things you're going to want to pay attention to is your gain, and make sure that when you're submitting an audition that they look like they should have decent waves. They shouldn't be too small. They shouldn't be too big. There should be kind of a right in that middle ground there, because that middle ground is going to give you the best performance, best quality of recording, but it's not going to peak. I don't think this one actually peaked, but it may have. I'll have to listen to it while I'm going through. But also, if you have them too soft like this, that's leaving some of that performance on the table. It's a little bit harder. If I have to increase the volume of a recorded take in order to use it in a project, all of a sudden, any kind of room sound, any kind of echo in the background, anything is going to be increased along with the volume. So it is best to have a good quality recording in kind of this mid-range that you're seeing here. So that's just something just to keep an eye out visually when you're doing these auditions. But yeah, let's go ahead and listen to this first take.
Hi, my name is Right Old Wrongin. I'm submitting for podcast. Sorry if it sounds like cheating because I am actually English, although my accent's kind of Afrikaans as well, so hey, what can you do? Look at you.
Just right away at the beginning. It's totally fine, especially it's depending on the kind of audition you're doing. If you want to have a little fun in the slate and give a little bit of a background, in general, that's going to be fine. But if you are doing anything professionally, if you're going to be submitting to something where, again, lots and lots of people are going to be sending in this audition, I would just keep the slate as simple as possible. Name, who you're auditioning for, any information that they're asking for, and then go into your audition. I obviously don't mind this because we're doing this for a podcast. It's kind of a low-key kind of a thing. But keep that one in mind. If you want to give some fun words like right or wrong in here was saying, I actually am English, so it sounds like cheating. Good little bit. I love the personality behind it. I would put that into the commentary either of my email, or like in Casting Call Club, you can put the comment with your audition. That's where I would put that information. Again, this was fine for this kind of a project, but it's something for if you're doing professional auditions to make sure that you are being as professional as possible.
Standing tall at last. I've trained many a squire, but only a few become the knight I hoped they would. I'm proud of you, boy. Look at you. Standing tall at last. I've trained many a squire, but only a few became the knights I hoped they would. I'm proud of you, boy.
Already good variation of the accents. I love that you have the English accent first and then you go into a nice Scottish accent. So we get a little bit of what is more of your natural voice and then something where it's a little bit more acting. That's given me a show of your versatility. Absolutely loving that. So that's just a great thing off the start here.
I've buried enough friends to know that glory fades faster than memory. If I can keep you alive long enough to grow old yourself, well, I shall consider my service complete. I've buried enough friends to know that glory fades faster than memory. If I can keep you alive long enough to grow old yourself, I shall consider my service complete. If the Queen's words disarm you, should take it as a compliment. Charm is a weapon too, boy. Best learn how to carry it. If the Queen's words disarm you, should take that as a compliment. Charm is a weapon too, boy. Best learn how to carry it.
All right. Overall, very strong audition. Absolutely loved some of the stuff that you were doing on there. One of the things that I would definitely look for is between the lines. There was a lot of similarity in your delivery, in your energy levels. And specifically with this character, the very first line you have, you're saying, look at you standing tall. There's a lot of pride in this, and there's a lot of, positivity. And then in that second line, it starts off with, I've buried enough friends to know, so there's obviously a big shift in the emotional setting of those two lines, or at least you very well can read the potential variation there. And in this case, I got a lot of the same amount of volume, the same kind of performance with both lines, when there was definitely an opportunity to kind of split them two different ways. So I would definitely be taking each line and creating the scene in your head in order to figure out what kind of energy do I need to bring to this read, what kind of characterization of this voice can I bring into this scene. So when you're doing, again, look at you standing tall, it's going to come across very different than I've buried enough friends, Without changing the voice, you can change a lot of the performance. Now, Right Old Wrong did comment back on Casting Call that he was in less than ideal recording conditions. Absolutely understandable. Um, a lot of us are going to be in less than ideal circumstances. I definitely was when I started out. Right now, I'm in a whisper room that I was able to find and buy, so I'm in a real nice situation now. But when I started, yeah, I was in a pantry. I had moving blankets that I hung up on the walls. It got super, super hot. And for the longest time, there was always a constant buzz in all my recordings that I wasn't hearing because I had to have my laptop in the booth with me because I didn't have enough cables to make it work. And the fan would always kick on because it was just getting too hot in the room. So we've all been in really bad kind of situations like this. I would say if you are in kind of a if first of all, if you're just in a regular old house, regular old situation, and you're looking for a nice place to record, your closet is usually a pretty decent place to start if that is available for you. Reason being, it's a small enough space and it's filled with clothes. And clothes add bulk. It adds a great way to just capture sound waves. Because I mean, you got these big, bulky, soft materials that are just going to absorb that sound. It's the same reason why if you're just talking in a room and then you walk into a closet and you continue to talk, it sounds very, very different. It's actually a very good place to record, very, very cheap way of doing it. If you're not able to do that, and if you're out like in a kitchen or just a living room or something like that, you know, it's always going to be best if you have big, soft furniture around. So, not hard floors, not hard walls, as much soft stuff as you can get because that's going to absorb sound. And one other real quick fix to try is to put a pillow behind your microphone. And the reason that's important is because when you're getting anything that's like room echo or, some of that room sound, the echo is going to be when your voice passes by the microphone, bounces off the wall, and then comes right back. And it adds that little kind of fluffy echo to the sound. By putting a nice big pillow behind your microphone, that is a first catch as your voice goes beyond the microphone that pillow is going to absorb a lot of the sound after it's been recorded. So you're still getting that nice clean recording, but you're getting a lot less of the echo coming back. So that's one thing to try. If anyone's having a situation where they're getting a lot of that room sound or a lot of that echo, that's a good way to start. Very cheap way to start is putting a pillow behind your microphone. See if you can get into a closet with a lot of clothes. Otherwise, if you're in a regular room, as much as soft furnishing and stuff, cover up anything that's hardwood floors, hard surfaces, cover them with blankets or anything you can do like that's going to absorb more sound and make you a nice cleaner read. What I would do in this case, especially because we're again going off of your comments on Casting Call Club, you were saying that you used to peak a lot, or the microphone that you have peaks a lot. That's fine. Turn down your gain and turn up your natural speaking volume. Because is what you should be doing is speaking very comfortably, acting very comfortably, and turning the mic down to match you. You should never be adjusting yourself to the microphone. If you are peaking, do not change your acting because you're acting correctly. Turn down the gain. Now it's going to capture you correctly. And that's the thing that I've struggled with for a long time, and a lot of people do, is they see that they're really loud, but they don't want to turn their volume down too much, so then they lower their volume. And that's going to lower their energy, and it's going to affect the performance. We want to be able to be as free as possible, so you can turn down your gain, turn up your volume, pillow behind the microphone, see if that helps the recording there. And one other thing that you made is a good comment. So Right Old Wrongin said that they did a lot of takes to get that Scottish accent. I had commented that I actually really liked the accent. They let me know that it took them a lot of takes to be able to do that. That does raise some flags for me, and it is something that is going to be something that actually came up with my ex-husband as well. It was, if you are doing a voice that is not comfortable for you, that you can't easily replicate, and that you can't consistently do, and you can't do for a very long time, then it's probably not an accent or a voice that you want to do for an audition. Because God forbid you get the gig and you can't replicate it. Um, my ex-husband came up to me and about this audition. He wasn't able to audition for this week's episode, but he let me know that he really wanted to because guess what? He got sick for a while, and for a bit, he had that really good gruff voice, and he loved it. And he's like, "Oh, I really wanted to audition." Ugh. Might sound cool. Record it for yourself. Have fun with it, but don't do an audition like this because again, God forbid you get the audition and you're like, "Yeah, we loved that voice. Do it again." I mean, what are you gonna do? Go out and get the flu and like try to make yourself like have the right voice? It's not gonna work out. It's not gonna work in your favor. And a lot of people I've seen do this where they'll do a real gruff voice for this character and rah rah rah, and they scream and rough themselves up, and then they're asked to perform like that for a long period of time, and it wrecks your voice if that's not something you do consistently. I actually do a lot of those kind of a gruff voices, so I can do that pretty consistently for a decent long amount of time. But if that's not something that you do regularly, be careful because you don't want to hurt yourself if you get this audition. So that's just a couple of pointers for you there. Let's go ahead and look at our next audition here. First of all, great job, right or wrong, and loved the audition. So thank you so much for all that. And the accent sounded great. I know you took a lot of takes with it, but it sounded amazing. All right, we're gonna go on to Dak here, who read for Sir Boy. Loved these character names, by the way. These are all from my artist friend. He named all the characters. Very fun. All right, let's see. Listen.
I swear by my sword and soul, I will not fail this kingdom. If courage alone could win wars, then today we are already victorious. I swear by my sword and soul, I will not fail this kingdom. If courage alone could win wars, then today we are already victorious.
All right, a couple things off the bat here. Now, first of all, Dak and I spoke a little bit in the comments about this one. Obviously, in this case, there was no real English accent being done, no real British accent. This is just kind of a regular American accent. And Dak had told me that accents is not something he's worked on before. It's not something he really knew how to learn. And that really brought up something that I don't generally think of, which is how do you learn accents? I think a lot of us just got exposed. I watched a lot of Monty Python growing up, and they do plenty of different English accents. If you watch enough TV, movies, listen to radio, listen to talk radio, you're going to hear people with different kinds of accents, different kinds of voices. And you listen enough, you start to just mimic it, and it just kind of comes almost naturally. But not everyone has that experience. Not everyone looks for that, and not everyone thinks to try to duplicate what someone else is doing. So if you don't have that background, and if you don't have that exposure, how do you learn an accent? And really, I'm not the person to ask on this one because this is a very particular skill set that is taught. There are people who can coach you into speaking in certain accents. And accents can absolutely vary so much. I find it hilarious that as an American, when you think English accent, you're usually thinking like a London accent or a Cockney accent, and that's pretty much it. If you go to England, there are so many accents. It's ridiculous. I lived in Manchester for a couple of years, and like you walk down the street, and every other block seems to have their own accent. It was ridiculous, and they're all very, very subtle. So I think a lot of those who are more exposed into the British culture will start to realize that there are a lot of nuances to the accent. In a lot of auditions, it's going to say British, and you're going to have to kind of like take a look at the character and make a decision, make an educated guess on what kind of accent they're really looking for. And it's funny because a British person actually has a very similar response when thinking of an American accent. They really generally only think of kind of that, Californian and Arizona, just that kind of general American accent, very young American accent. Whereas if you speak to someone from America like us and they're like, hey, where, what kind of American accent can you do? We have New Yorker accents. We can do Rhode Island accents, Floridian accents, Texan accents, Georgian accents. There's so many different variations of American accents. They usually think of the American voice, and we usually think of the British voice. If you want to learn more, look it up on YouTube. There are great videos of people teaching you how to speak in certain dialects and different accents. If it's really important and you really are passionate about it, there are coaches who will teach you how to do this kind of stuff. Generally, if you want to learn it, you got to expose yourself to it. So, I mean, just look for nice British television and find a show that you like and start just kind of repeating some of their lines and try to sound like them and just kind of play with it. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be something unique to yourself, and it's going to be fun while you do it. So, sorry, that was my whole little soapbox rant about accents here. Let us get back to the audition here.
Yes, my queen. Your words honor me more than this armor ever could. Please, I swear to serve under your name for as long as I am able to draw breath. Yes, my queen. Your words honor me more than this armor ever could. Please, I swear to serve under your name for as long as I am able to draw breath. My heart may tremble, but my oath does not. Whatever I feel, I will serve with honor, always. My heart may tremble, but my oath does not. Whatever I feel, I will serve with honor, always.
There's some really good stuff about this audition. I love the amount of energy you're able to put into each of these lines. I mean, because honestly, there's a lot in here that it's given me a lot to work with in terms of you're someone who can step up to the microphone and really get this done, get this in. Again, working on the accent would be great. That'd be a fun thing to do. The other thing is the recording quality. We're getting a lot of the room noise. We're getting a lot of that echo. As I said in the last audition, putting a pillow behind your microphone, doing this from within a closet. Those are going to be some great ways to get yourself a better quality recording. I might also turn your gain down a little bit. You are, again, a little bit heavy on the wavelengths here, and I would want you to be able to perform at your full without that threat of peaking. I just had something that popped in my head. Oh, I hope it didn't leave. We're talking about rooms, echoes. Oh, yes. One thing that had come up a couple of times in talking to people about these auditions was, building up your set, like your booth and just your setup here, and where to spend the money. I had a friend recently want the same microphone that I've got. Now I have a Neumann T103, and the first time I got this microphone, it's a $2,000 microphone, and I picked it up, and boy, when I first got it, I hated it because it picked up so much bad stuff that I couldn't use it. I had to go back to my old microphone, and I learned that it is so much more worth the investment to get yourself a good space to record in. And again, you can do that cheaply by being in your closet. There's a lot of things that you can do to have a cheap recording setting. And that is hugely important, because if you have a cruddy old microphone, a USB Blue Yeti, used for gaming kind of a mic, but you're in a really nice space, then it's going to be, an kind of recording, but of a really good performance, because again, it's recording the space. If you're in a bad space and you get a really good microphone, unfortunately, that good microphone is going to pick up all the bad stuff so much more clearly. And so there's nothing at that point you can do to really make a good recording, because it's just going to pick up all the bad stuff that's always going to be there until you fix it. So fix up your studio, your booth first, and then invest in a better microphone when you need it. That's just kind of a general tip for you there. There are some really great microphones out there. You do not need a very expensive one until further down the line, and you've got a really nice recording space. Once you have a recording space, then you can start looking at increasing the microphone quality. So that's something to be thinking about. For this audition for DAC, besides just the room noise, the echo, and everything, I would say that it had a lot of the same. Sorry, a lot of the same kind of performance between each take or between each line. And what I'd like to see is a different emotional capturing between each one. And the way that I would do that is you have to create and picture a scene which has this dialogue. Um, it's not necessarily an easy thing because we don't always give it to you. Some auditions you'll take will tell you exactly what's happening in a scene, who you're speaking to, what your emotion is, because they really want to hear exactly that thing. In this case, and let's actually take a look at the audition right real quick here. If we go down to Sir Boy, all you really get is the line. We don't know who he's talking to, what he's doing. We don't know his emotional state. But let's just take this very first one here. I swear by my sword and soul, I will not fail this kingdom. If courage alone could win wars, then today we are already victorious. What's he doing? Who's he talking to? And changing the scene and changing who we are talking to between take A and take B is a great way to have two very different takes without having to start changing the voice at all. So let's just take two examples. Taking this line, he could be on a battlefield. There's a battle happening around him, and his men they're engulfed in fear. They're seeing their friends die on the sidelines. They're having to run up and they're holding their swords and they're just shivering in fear. And Sir Boy steps up and wants to encourage his men to fight with him and to keep their bravery. And he might be just engulfed in fear himself, but he is at his core courageous and is overcoming this fear to be able to say this and encourage his team. Now that is a huge amount of emotion that's going to be in that read. It's going to be louder. It's going to be edged with some fear, but forcing these words out. I swear by my sword and soul, I will not fail this kingdom. If courage alone could win wars, then today we are already victorious. Just pushing that emotion out, and you can imagine the people around him, like almost cheering him on to be pushed into battle. Completely different scene. Take two. You're at a graduation ceremony. You are being gifted a sword, a decorative sword that is to kind of emulate this. This is supposed to be like a graduation ceremony. You're becoming a knight, and you're giving this oath. I swear by my sword and soul, I will not fail this kingdom. If courage alone could win wars, then today we are already victorious. It's a lot more subdued. There's pride. There's a whole different feeling. With the same exact words, the same exact voice, the same exact character, you've completely changed how this line can read. And that's what I would love to be able to hear. Because as someone who hasn't given you the scene, that would give me such confidence that no matter what scene I put you in, you could perform as this character and give him that whole different energy feel. So all together, again, great audition. The room noise, want to hear a little bit more variation in your emotion and everything, but I really appreciate you putting this audition in. You're sounding great, and I'd love to hear more from you down the line. All right. This next one was kind of fun. So this is Eli. I'm going to solo this top line. You can tell for those who are watching, I doubled this line, and there's a reason for that. But we're going to start with just listening to one line here.
Hello, I'm Eli, and I'm reading for the Queen to be submitted for feedback. Thank you. Oh, I do adore promotion ceremonies. New titles, fresh faces, and that wonderful look of panic when a young knight realizes everyone is watching him.
Love the voice already. I really liked the voice that she had picked out. And by the way, I know that the slate was saying that it was only submitted for feedback. I did reach out to Eli and make sure that she was okay with me doing this on the podcast. So before anyone says anything, if you only want feedback, just say that you just want feedback. I won't put it up on the podcast. I won't, submit it for the show. But I did speak with her about it. Loving the accent on this one. It's a good amount of acting, a good amount of emotion in it, and I quite like what it is so far. I would like a little bit more variation in how much volume is being used through the line, but overall, fantastic.
Everyone is watching him. Must you stand so stiffly, sir boy? You've earned your armour, yet you're wearing it like it might scald you. Relax, my love. I only tease him because he blushes so beautifully. It's refreshing, don't you think?
Overall, great read. I love the accent. I like the amount of acting you're putting into it. I always think that it can use more variation of volume and emotion and everything. Now, one thing that was very consistent in a lot of the auditions that I was listening to, and this is from multiple days, is just something that I started noticing more, is when you do 2 takes of an audition, it is so easy to basically kind of repeat yourself for the most part, and just either put on like a slightly different voice or a slightly different accent or a slightly different something, but overall the performance being very, very similar. And that's something that I'd like to break away from. And so for Eli, what I wanted to look at is I took 2 of the auditions, and I know it was submitted A B B C C all correctly, but I cut them out and I doubled them up. Now there's a slight difference in space, so you can see that there's slight variations. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. There's slight cuts, but not by very much. And just listen to how closely there are 2 completely different reads. They had slightly different voices into them, slightly different inflections, but listen to how similar that they are when you stack them on top of each other.
Oh, I do adore promotion ceremonies. New titles, fresh faces, and that wonderful look of panic when a young knight realizes everyone is watching him.
This is something I'd like you to do the next time you're taking auditions, is either just listen to them side by side or even put them, stack them on top of each other like I did here, because you'll start to hear how similar your reads are. And this is so normal to happen. I kind of equate it to when you are taking a sled and you go down a mountain, and then you take the sled back up to the top and you want to go down again, and your sled's going to follow its own path. And it's always going to want to follow its own path. It's actually difficult to veer off in a different direction. And that's the same when you're doing a read. You get so, engulfed in your own performance that it's really hard to tell your brain, I need to change it. I need a different take, because you've already done it once, and to you that was correct, and it's super valid. But it's hard to break out of it. But it's something that I would love to see more people try to actively avoid. Just know that you can vary your pitch, you can vary your timing, you can vary your emotional side of things, and that gives a completely different read before you ever even touch the voice itself, because you can also change your overall tonality. You can change your accent. You can change your vocal quirks. There's a lot of things that you can change for the voice, and then also for the performance. In this case, I would say Eli did a fantastic job of doing she had a great voice, she had a great character and everything. But with a second take, even though there was a change in the accent, there was just very little change in the performance itself. So that is something that I would absolutely pay attention to. Let us zoom forward here. Actually, there we go. So now I can see more. All right, this next one is going to be from Elise Astoria. She also read for The Queen.
My name is Elise Astoria, and I'm submitting for podcast. Oh, I do adore promotion ceremonies. New titles, fresh faces, and that wonderful look of panic when a young knight realizes everyone is watching him. Oh, I do adore promotion ceremonies. New titles, fresh faces, and that wonderful look of panic when a young knight realizes everyone is watching him. Must you stand so stiffly, sir boy? You've earned your armor, yet you're wearing it like it might scald you. Must you stand so stiffly, sir boy? You've earned your armor, yet you're wearing it like it might scald you. Relax, my love. I only tease him because he blushes so beautifully. It's refreshing, don't you think? Relax, my love. I only tease him because he blushes so beautifully. It's refreshing, don't you think?
Once again, a lot of great stuff in this read. There wasn't a heavy change of voice between takes A and B, but there was a really nice change of energy. There was good examples of changing the inflection of where you're putting your inflection in for each of these lines. Um, when I'm saying about the inflections here, there is let me give you an example of this. There is a phrase, and it is, "I never said she stole my purse." And if you take that line and you put the emphasis on each of the words, it completely changes what the words mean. I never said she stole my purse. 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 Notice you've actually changed the complete context of what's happening by changing where the inflection lies. Similar things will happen in these auditions, and Elise did a great job of changing the inflection in some of these lines, and that is absolutely a good way to kind of give yourself some variation between the two. I would still like to see more. I'd still like to see some more emotional depth between the takes and a little bit more energy fluctuation, but that use of the inflection was absolutely great. I absolutely love that. The other thing that I would love to see in this kind of take more would be to sound like you're in a larger space than you actually are, because some of these lines, for the Queen, especially the first line that she does, it sounds like she is in a festive location. Let me actually pull up that audition real quick, and I have to remind myself of all the lines here. So the Queen, "Oh, I do adore promotion ceremonies, new titles, fresh faces, and that wonderful look of panic when a young knight realizes everyone is watching him." Now, where is she during this line? It sounds to me like she is heading into an area where there's a processional, or maybe either a courtyard where there's a lot of people, doing all this, or maybe she's going into an arena, or maybe it's a large hall. Whatever it is, it sounds like she's going to be in this large place. So when she is speaking, it shouldn't sound the same as if you're standing right next to someone. "Oh, I do adore promotion ceremonies." It's like no one's going to hear that. But of course, we are recording in these tiny little spaces. It sometimes can be very difficult to open yourself up and be able to sound like you're speaking within a large space. The way to do that is to honestly increase your volume, increase your space, and then turn down your gain. "Oh, I do adore promotion ceremonies." Add a little bit of flair, add a little bit of, there's dynamics and volume changes. It's a tricky thing to do, but I would absolutely love to hear more of it, especially when the next couple lines are very much to an individual. "Must you stand so stiffly, Sir Boy?" Obviously speaking to Sir Boy. Or, "Oh, relax, my love." Even more intimate, even just like whispering into her lover's ear. "Oh, relax, my love. I only tease him because he blushes so beautifully." Something very intimate can sound, like you're in a much smaller space because you are just, being right up to someone, versus, "Oh, I do adore promotion ceremonies." A lot bigger, a lot more, it sounds like a much bigger space. So that would be what I would want to hear in that audition. Otherwise, from that, Elise, fantastic read. Absolutely loved it. I'm down to the last two auditions. These are both for Knight Commander. Two of my favorite of the auditions that got sent in this week. Absolutely love these for different reasons. So let me just jump right into Paul Lolly Jones. Let's listen to his take here.
Paul Lawley Jones, submitting for podcast. Look at you, standing tall at last. I have trained many a squire, but only a few became the knight I hoped they would. I am proud of you, boy. Look at you, standing tall at last. I have trained many a squire, but only a few became the knight I hoped they would. I am proud of you, boy. I've buried enough friends to know that glory fades faster than memory. If I can keep you alive long enough to grow old yourself, I shall consider my service complete. I've buried enough friends to know that glory fades faster than memory. If I can keep you alive long enough to grow old yourself, I shall consider my service complete. If the Queen's words disarm you, she'd take it as a compliment. Charm is a weapon too. Best learn how to carry it. Ha ha ha! If the Queen's words disarm you, she'd take it as a compliment. Charm is a weapon too, you know. Best learn how to wield it.
All right. And first of all, Paul loved the voice. It was a beautiful voice, as really great foundation, really good color to it. I love your natural accent in there. There were so many good things that I really liked about this. In terms of feedback, I felt like this had a much more a tone of a narrator as opposed to the tone of a character. This sounded to me like it was more of an audition for an audiobook or something more of, again, the narration side of things. And that, again, is not to say that it's a bad thing at all. I loved listening to this. But what I'd like to hear more, I felt like the voice was almost too perfectly too perfectly scripted is what I was trying to say. It sounds as if you're reading it off a script, which obviously we are. But adding some flaw in the voice, either a crack, a grumble, hesitation between words, something of that sort, might give it a little bit more natural sounding character. And then the other thing is that between take A and take B, it was the same change between each one, which it basically just kind of turned up the volume and the energy by 2 clicks. You would do the next one, turn it back down 2 clicks, turn it back up 2 clicks. And besides that, there wasn't really that much variation between the 2 takes. I would love to see a little bit more of an emotional shift between the takes, especially when you're getting between I'm proud of you, Sir Boy, versus, I've seen a lot of men die. That is an absolute emotional shift. I'd like to see a lot more there. Now, just to say, next week's auditions, which are going to be posted as soon as this episode comes up, are going to be for an audio book. And Paul, I would love to hear your take on it because I think that you have a great narration voice. I was thrown when I listened to the audition. It was just like a really great voice that I loved. So more emotional impact. More than just the volume and energy up between the 2 takes. And honestly, I would see about adding some flaw to the voice between the takes to make it sound more like natural speaking as opposed to reading off a script. That is the kind of feedback that I would try to give on this one. This last one that we're going to be listening to is from a buddy of mine, Dante. We're in a couple of projects together. And I absolutely loved this take on the thing. I wanted to. So last week I had talked about the scale 1 through 5 from one of my director friends that's how he got through lots and lots of auditions. And maybe we'll come up with a way to do our own kind of rating system when we're listening to auditions to kind of see where people are kind of landing and how to move up from a 2 to a 3 or from a 4 to a 5, whatever it is. But in that case, this example would have been a 5. I feel as you're listening to this take, listen to the character sound, listen to the amount of volume variation that he has, emotional variation that he has, and just the amount of character he's able to portray with just the couple of lines that he has. Now, before we start, I already gave him some comments on this one. Even though this was a 5-star performance, I would absolutely say make sure you're following the directions, because we were missing information in the slate, and it was done in an ABC format as opposed to AABBCC. So make sure that you're paying attention, because I would hate for an audition of this quality to get scrapped because it didn't follow the instructions. That would be tragic. So go ahead, listen to this great audition here.
This is Dante Majors reading for the Knight Commander.
Look at you, standing tall at last. I have trained many a squire, but only a few became the knights I hoped they would. I'm proud of you, boy. I've buried enough friends to know that glory fades faster than memory. If I can keep you alive long enough to grow old yourself, I shall consider my service complete. If the Queen's words may disarm you, she take it as a compliment. Charm is a weapon too. Best learn how to carry it. Look at you, standing tall at last. I have trained many a squire, but only a few became the knight I hoped they would. I am proud of you, boy. I've buried enough friends to know that glory fades faster than memory. If I can keep you alive long enough to grow old yourself, I shall consider my service complete. If the Queen's words disarm you, she take it as a compliment. Charm is a weapon too. Must learn how to carry it.
So yeah, Dante, absolutely amazing. Loved the take on it. There's always room for, a little bit more variation between the two lines. But the performance that was given, absolutely great. A lot of variation in volume. There was a lot of character in the voice. Absolutely loved it. And your Scottish accent is amazing. I don't know how accurate it might be to like a traditional Scottish accent, but oh my gosh, I felt like it could be in a fantasy novel or a fantasy animation, fantasy movie. It had real great subtleties, certain words that just came out that it just sounded amazing. Loved it. Make sure you're following instructions, because I would hate for an audition of this quality to be scrapped just because it didn't slate correctly or something like that. So thank you again to everyone who put in their auditions. The new audition is going to be coming up very soon. It is going to be on an audiobook style audition, which are going to be slightly longer takes. We'll go over some more of the about what, obviously you can expect from an audiobook audition when we get to that, but I did want to at least share one kind of skill that you can put into your toolbox for when you're doing these recordings. Less so for your auditions, more so for when you're actually doing recordings, and this is called the art of the pickup. So when you are doing a pickup, that is when you've done a recording, especially good for audiobooks because those recordings are very, very long. And if you need to make a small correction, instead of re-recording the whole thing, you record just the part that needs to be corrected and inserted in a way that it sounds like it was all correct and from the beginning. That is called doing a pickup. Pickups are a very, very powerful tool. If you are able to do pickups, you are going to be an editor's best friend. Because if you struggle with getting those pickups, that means you have to record the entire thing again, and then that just creates a whole headache. And especially for anyone who's interested in doing audiobooks, learn to do pickups. It's great. One of the best things to know about doing pickups is it's very, very musical. Anytime that we are speaking in tempo, we are speaking in pitch, we're basically singing. Because that's all that singing is talking in pitch and in time. And that's exactly how you talk. But if you can think about it in a musical term, then all of a sudden you can start repeating yourself. 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 It's just, you start to hear, this is where the pitch is. This is where the inflection is. This is where the pitch. And you can start, if you can do that, that means that you can take a small section of a recording and make it sound like it was always that way, instead of, if you record it differently, a different performance on a different day and take out a small section, it becomes very obvious, and you won't be able to use a pickup like that. Wanted to give kind of as an example on here. Now I won't sit here and actually record this, but I wanted to just read a small section of a book here, and kind of show you how a pickup might be done. So this is just a paragraph from a book, The Belgariad, by David Eddings. It's one of my favorite little fantasies. So here it is. One blonde girl particularly attracted his eye. In some ways, she reminded him of Zibret, but there were some differences. Where Zibret had been petite, this girl was as big as a boy, though she was noticeably not a boy. Her laughter rang out merrily, and her cheeks were pink in the cold afternoon air as she slid down the hill with her long braids flying behind her. So that's the take. And you already saw that I broke at the beginning when I messed up with the name. And by stopping, giving a small break, and then readdressing the line, the small break is really important, because as an editor, I can first of all, I can see where that break is, and with a break, now I can just kind of trim that off, put them together, and basically stitch the two lines so it sounds flawless. If you try to make a mistake and then quickly correct yourself, that quick correction actually is very hard to edit, because it doesn't sound like you just started a new line. It sounds like you're picking up from a failed line. So if you are reading and you make a mistake, stop, give a small pause, and then readdress it as naturally as possible. So as I did, in some ways she reminded him, just start it again. Now let's say that I had that recorded, and I had this entire chapter recorded, and then the editor calls up and says, hey, it's not Zibret, it's Zibretta. It's like, oh no. I did her name like 3 or 4 times. Like, I don't want to have to record entire paragraphs of dialogue just to get her name right. So what I would do is I would listen to myself, and I would listen to the take, and it would sound something like, in some ways, she reminded him of Zibret. In some ways, it would remind her of Zibret. And I would record, in some ways, she reminded him of Zibretta. In some ways, she reminded him of Zibretta. Zibretta. And I would put the word a couple of times. Now, snip it out, pop it right in, and you can fix the entire line by getting that one word sounding natural. That is called the art of the pickup. Hopefully, that is something that you can, it's something that needs practice, doing pickups. And if you want to practice it, reading a book is the best way to do it. Pick up a book, read a page, a paragraph, a chapter, however much you want to read, and then listen back and see if you can, any errors that you find, see if you can fix just that section by recording on a separate track, listening to yourself, and see if you can record just that little bit and then snip it inside and see if you can make it sound like it's all in one take. Learn to do that, and you're going to save yourself a lot of time while doing edits for any big projects. All right, folks, that is going to be it from today for episode 3. Thank you so much again for sending in your auditions. The next week audition is going to be up as soon as this video posts. It's going to be on audiobooks, so please feel free to put in your auditions. I'd love to be able to give you the feedback, and we'll see you guys next week.